Exploring Government from Notgrass History is a one-semester course for high school students that teaches them about government in the United States on the federal, state, and local levels, with special emphasis on the U.S. Constitution. We believe your family can succeed with this course, just like these Notgrass users who have gone on to become teachers themselves.
I am a homeschool graduate who used Notgrass history in high school. After high school, I received my bachelor's in history from Bryan College, and now I teach Notgrass curriculum at the high school level.
I'm a homeschool graduate who took Notgrass government in high school. Because of my experience with Notgrass government, I went on to major at Bryan College in government and in history.
After using Exploring Government as a high school student, when I got to college, it proved helpful because I had been introduced to concepts and characters throughout the story of American government that I would have to study much more in college. I knew who John Locke was. I knew who some of these other government philosophers were. I knew what some of these ideas were, the social contract theory of government and so forth.
One of the things that Notgrass government did for me is it provided me both a biblical and historical foundation for viewing government. As a God-ordained institution, it showed me that I was an inheritor of a foundation that had been laid long before I was born, and that I was given the opportunity to enter into that story, the American story, and that I had a role in shaping it moving forward.
Students using Exploring Government will read primary source documents in We Hold These Truths, a collection of documents, essays, Supreme Court decisions, and more. This reading connects students to the words of people who have shaped history and built the government we steward today.
Exploring Government references a number of primary source documents that illustrate the origin of the ideas and concepts that defined our great nation. Notgrass approaches historical controversies from a very well-informed historical perspective, really delving into the primary sources to strip away a lot of the fog and noise that so often surrounds them.
So I think what a lot of curriculums do is they kind of pull a veil over those primary sources. They put the burden on the teacher to interpret those sources for the student rather than trusting the students to wrestle with those sources themselves. I think what those primary sources did for me is it whet my appetite, not just to master them in high school, but to make mastering those sources a journey of growth personally. I grew in my knowledge of those over the course of my education. But I wouldn't have if Notgrass hadn't introduced me to them in the first place and trusted me to wrestle with them and to have that starting point from which to grow in understanding.
Notgrass History recommends 4 assigned literature books for students using Exploring Government. These are biographies and autobiographies that illustrate the lives and influence of people in government. These books add richness and depth to the lessons and will inspire your student.
One of the things I really love about Notgrass curriculum is how it incorporates literature in order to teach the power of story. So often today our culture gives us a really negative view of our own government, our own history, and Notgrass is informed by a robust and factual view of our American story, which is not just optimistic, but grounded in fact, as it explores the tensions and the big issues that define our cultural conversations, our political conversations today.
God is the author of government, and whatever you believe about politics, the proper sphere of government activity, and the relationship of government to its citizens, you are involved with government. Government affects you, and in one way or another, you contribute to how it operates. Students who use Exploring Government gain knowledge of the importance of government in their lives.
Many students today are taught a view of government which tends to be cynical, which tends to make them feel hopeless about the state of the world today. One of the things that Notgrass government does extremely well is provides a vision of hope for the future. And one of the ways that it does that is by providing us with the history of where we've come from. As great men, the founding fathers have wrestled with the issues of their day, so too can students be inspired to take head on the issues which plague our nation today, and can work with a robust worldview, with a hopeful vision of the future, with a biblical foundation of wisdom in order to address those problems.
Exploring government is more than just about checking off a box or earning a grade. It's also about shaping students into citizens of character and integrity to help form the next generation of Americans.
You and your student can succeed at homeschooling in high school and at changing our country as informed citizens. Exploring government can help.